I'm striking out on my own on a 6 to 7 week trip back home from the UK, but taking the slow road. First stop is Oslo, the capital city of Norway, flying Orion Air. Nothing but style for me. I've got 3 days and 2 nights before I'm booked for an overnight bus to Malmö in Sweden, so I'm keen to see what I can see. Norway is a surprising country, and Oslo is the surprising capital city of a surprising country. It is home to the Nobel Peace Prize, home to the Norwegian royal family, home to the Edvard Munch Scream painting, home to great cruises on the fjord, and a great city just to roam around in. But first, let me give you some stats. Norway has a population of 5.5 million, so just a little bit bigger than New Zealand. Greater Oslo's portion of that is over 1.5 million, so kind of similar to Auckland. And it's a pretty diverse population. They are not all blonde, blue-eyed Scandinavian supermodels around here. Which one's named Pink? The latest in Norwegian fashions? Oslo sits on a fjord. The waters are mysteriously dark. When I googled that, I was told it's because there's a high mineral content coming off the hills. I went for a cruise on the fjord, which was one of those must-do things in Oslo. It's good to get that different perspective on the city. I did 2 walking tours while I was here in the city. One I'd call a general tour, and then one which was a targeted Nobel Peace Prize tour. The Nobel Peace Prize is managed from the city as dictated by the founder Edvard Munch in 1901. There is a dedicated museum for the prize, but it was closed for renovations, just my luck. Instead, as part of the tour, we walked around the key city buildings involved in the process. The City Hall is where the winner is announced. About 1,000 selected guests cram the City Hall reception, quite the to-do apparently. The Nobel Peace Prize is awarded by a committee that is appointed by the Norwegian Parliament, so we had a look at that building. Then it is a tradition for the winner to stay at the Grand Hotel and appear from the balcony to the adoring crowds below. Barack Obama is one such person who has appeared at the window, but in this case the balcony was shrouded in bulletproof glass. Nothing says peace like bulletproof glass, yeah? And we also wandered down to the university building, where winners used to be announced from. It was moved from here because of capacity reasons. The last one to be awarded the prize here was the Dalai Lama in 1989. Another significant winner announced here was a personal favourite of mine, Martin Luther King. On the whole, this was a really interesting tour about something that has so much historical importance and so many interesting stories intertwined with it. Norway is the only country that has elected a royal family. Yes, that's right, back in 1905, the Norwegian people voted to have a royal family, and the invitation was made to a Danish-born bloke called King Haakon VII. One tour guide said, "As long as they behave themselves, we'll keep them," which was a subtle dig at the English royal family, I guess. The Norwegians love their museums. I went to 4 different ones in my 3 days in town. The Askander Castle Museum is in the Askander Fortress complex, I'm probably mispronouncing that very badly, and documents some of the medieval history of the country. It's also where the aforementioned king is interned in a mausoleum. There are also a number of portraits of long-gone royals. I guess they were the olden day selfies. And by royals I mean these are the Swedish or Danish royals that ruled across Norway at the time. The World War II Resistance Museum documents a period that the Norwegians are very proud of. Their king did not accept the German occupation, unlike the Danish one. Instead, he flew to England and continued to be involved in organising the resistance from afar. His people love him for that. The next museum was the Armed Forces Museum. Again, this was a well-organised and presented collection of interesting bits and pieces that coherently tells the story of the various actions Norway has been involved in over the years. And finally, the one I was most looking forward to was the Digital Viking Museum. This period in Scandinavian history is probably the most famous, but it really only covered around 300 to 400 year period. Most historians consider it over by the time the Vikings in England got beaten up in 1066. That date is of course familiar because of the Norman victory down in Hastings, but the Viking defeat was further to the north before the Hastings victory. There are a lot of interesting and unique architecturally stunning buildings located around Oslo. There is the Opera House where you can walk up to the roof for spectacular views across the waterfront. There's the National Library that was apparently awarded the prize for best library in the world from an architectural point of view. And the Munch Museum building. This one houses the enormous Edvard Munch collection, of which I am totally ignorant, except for the Scream. I understand there are actually 4 different versions of the Scream painting. 3 of them are to be found in Oslo and 1 is in private hands. I was pleased to know I could buy an eraser in the Munich souvenir shop. I was looking for a Munch lunch box but couldn't see one. I'm sure I had a Munch Bunch lunch box when I was a kid. This was a great introduction to Scandinavia for me. Thanks, Norway. Next stop, Sweden. Please like and subscribe.